Hey everyone, how's it going? We've got all of our leaders for set 10 revealed for One Piece TCG, and there's some interesting ones with some very interesting abilities. Not going to really kind of rank them in terms of power today because we really haven't seen too much support, but I think a lot of their abilities are very interesting and pretty fun. So starting off with the most recently revealed one, we've got Law, a green-yellow leader with Slash for life, Hearts Pirates Supernova, Dress Rosa. Now, he is Dawn ×1, activate main. Basically, we've got shambles here. Once per turn, if the total cost of your characters on the board is 5 or more, then you can return one of your characters to your hand, reveal the top card of your life. If that card is Supernova type, with a cost of 5 or less, you can play it. Kind of weird off the bat that it's only Supernova, but he has all of these different typings. So unfortunately, we only get one of those that we can actually use the leader ability with, right? But it is going to be interesting to see how we can balance this, right? This is another way that you can kind of cheat out bodies that are bigger, right? You don't have to have a full board. I believe that was like the red-green law, right? You had to have a full board of characters and then you had to return one, play out a bigger card. This is just you have to have 5 costs or more between all of your characters, right? So we can have a 2 cost and a 3 cost. You know, any combination that adds up to 5, obviously, right? So you can probably use this pretty early to play out more bodies, right? And of course, with the Supernova cards for 5 costs, we've got like Cavendish, which is really good. The 5 cost Julie Bonnie, that is pretty good. I wonder if we're going to get like yellow specific Supernova. But yeah, it is just another deck that kind of can cheat out 5 cost bodies. You know, a lot of people didn't think Calgara was going to be that good, but now you can pretty much swarm the board very quickly and he can get pretty aggressive. So I'm wondering if this deck is going to be the same. You know, with green, you all obviously have access to a lot of the good green cards, right? You got like Hody Jones that you can be even more aggressive with. Yellow, you have other stuff that you can kind of manipulate your life with. You have the 2 cost Hiyori, the 2k counter that takes a card from your life and then you can put a card from your hand to the top of your life or bottom, right? But obviously you put it to the top to use your leader ability, right? You can essentially ensure that you hit with the leader ability, right? And with that, I'm expecting we'll get some unique way to heal as well, because if from our like 2nd or 3rd turn we are taking our own life, it could get kind of risky since we are starting with only 4, right? And even Calgara got interesting way to heal with the Noland and Calgara character combo, where you had to have a Calgara character obviously on board and then you would play Noland and then you would heal through that combination. So I wonder if there's going to be some kind of leader locked way for him to heal. And of course, if we get any more green Supernova support, you know, that could be pretty good for Bonnie, right? We already have a decent Supernova package. Unfortunately, this is 5 cost, right? So you can't cheat out a Basil Hawkins, which would be kind of crazy, kind of cracked, right? But very interesting leader ability, another way to kind of cheat out bodies. I've always kind of thought that like the best way to determine if a deck is going to be pretty good is if it can cheat out bodies, right? I think that's probably one of the strongest mechanics in the game, but you have to look at the downsides. Obviously, you know, we're taking our own life to do so, and we start at 4, so, you know, you might be susceptible to being rushed down. Who knows what kind of support we're going to get. Again, not kind of speculating too much on how strong these leaders are going to be, but just talking about how cool these leader abilities are, right? On paper, this seems pretty fun. There, I can see some people getting crazy with some good combos, again, depending on the support. And also, being Dress Rosa and yellow, you know, we have to think about, you know, we got Kyros, the BO1 leader with yellow and black, so who knows if we get some Dress Rosa support. I feel like with Law specifically, right, we'll probably see more Supernova because that is tied into his leader ability, right? So not too much of a point to printing like super powerful yellow Dress Rosa characters specifically. You know, there's probably going to be a mix of Supernovas in there, right? And who knows if they're going to print green for that support archetype in this, because, you know, again, it could buff up Bonnie, maybe make her too strong. I don't know. But very interesting leader building. Next, we got Captain Kidd that just got revealed. A yellow 5 life leader, 5k power. Ooh, Supernova Kid Pirates, end of turn. You may turn the top card of your life face up. So that is the cost. So I guess we'll have to use some cards that will flip life face down, which again, yellow has a lot of, but set one of your 3 to 8 cost characters with the Supernova type as active, and that character gains blocker until the end of your opponent's next turn. So this seems pretty good for twofold, right? One, you're getting a blocker on your board that's a 3 to 8 cost, so it could be a way to defend your life if you need to, right? Again, we have to have at least one life and one life that's face down at that to use this ability, but it could be a decent way to defend our life if, you know, our opponent's going to be going for game. But also, just the fact that we're turning it as active makes it a little bit harder for our opponent to get rid of our board, right? If we just swung with something that has a decent, like, when attacking ability that we want to keep, and we don't have a lot of counter, like just setting it as active alone means that it's a lot more defensible. It means they'll have to use something that just KOs it or bottom decks it to kind of deal with it, right? They can't just swing into the character. All right, and again, 5 life yellow leader. There could be some shenanigans in this. You know, we already got a lot of top end yellow support in the game already. That's kind of just generic, but with this, I guess we're going to be seeing, specifically, I guess now that we'll have to see Supernova being like the yellow archetype for the support cards in this, right? Because that would be shared between this and the law card. So that means we're probably not going to see green Supernova support too much in this, but maybe that's for the better, right? You want to see these new leaders kind of shine. I feel like that's what we're seeing right now in set 8 is nobody really is playing the newer leaders, unfortunately. It's very sad to see. And in my opinion, it makes for like a more stale meta if you're just seeing the same stuff over and over again. So I hope these new leaders get the support in the current set that they're coming out with, right? And this is off the coattails of set 9, which is a very, very strong, you know, anniversary set, right? So there's a lot of hype from set 9 that these are kind of following, right? But like I said, this can be used a couple of different ways. Defend your life or defend your board. Could be pretty good. Could be pretty good. Also, quick side note, I gotta say, I love the artwork going on these just standard leader cards. It makes it really cool to play with, like if you don't have to get an expensive alt art to have a cool version of the leader that you like, right? It is interesting that we're getting completely new color combinations for archetypes that we've seen for a while now, right? Means that we won't get too much new versions of older decks, but like I said, I like that these new leaders will be able to hopefully shine when they come out. All right, next we've got Sugar. Interesting Doflamingo type leader. She is 4 life, 5k power, red and purple. So 2 new colors to the Doflamingo archetype, right? A lot of people are like, why isn't she green? You know, we already have like purple with the green purple Dofi, right? But red is an interesting new color combination for this. I know a lot of people were speculating with the picture that we saw with Doflamingo in it for set 10. They thought we would get another Doflamingo leader, and it wasn't totally out of the ordinary to get 2 archetype leaders of the same like archetype, right? Sugar and a Doflamingo leader. It wouldn't have been crazy to think about, right? But now I'm thinking that that picture, that image of the Doflamingo that we saw would be for like a secret rare for the set. So I'm wondering if he's going to be red. A red Doflamingo like 10 drop would be kind of cool. But getting into the leader, right? We've got Sugar, 4 life, red purple, end of your turn. If you have a character with the Don Quixote Pirates type and with a power of 6,000 or more, set one of your Don as active, which kind of plays into their next ability. Opponent's turn, once per turn. When you activate an event, set 1 Don from your Don deck as active. So we are going to probably see a lot of purple events that Don minus, but you get that back as active, which honestly also plays into the fact that, you know, we have red, which gives us access to a lot of great defensive events. So even being a 4 life leader will probably be pretty defensive with the amount of events you can run in this. And then again, I personally think that that Doflamingo that we saw is going to be like a pretty high end, like a 10 drop or a 9 drop secret rare for the set. I am interested to see, or at least an SR, and I think it'll probably be for the Sugar deck, right? Obviously, be for the Sugar deck, but I think it's going to be a red Doflamingo. So I'm very interested to see how this goes, right? Because being half purple, right? You're ramping, right? That's probably the The goal of purple decks is Dawn manipulation, right? Ramping or using Dawn minus effects for events or stronger abilities, right? Which our leader ability kind of works into. We're getting a Dawn as active to use events on our opponent's turn when they're attacking us. So that way we can set Dawn as active. So either we're going to get some new Doflamingo top end that's going to be either purple or red. I think probably red. But if it is purple, then, maybe we'll see some of that green purple Dofi coming back into play. But interesting to see what the top end, the end game cards for this deck will be. Now we've got the infamous color combination brought on Usopp. I love this. I like Usopp. I know a lot of people don't like Usopp. I'm an Usopp fan. All right. We got Usopp, 4 life, 5k power, blue and black. I know people are having immediate flashbacks to Sakazuki and are kind of worried about this. And yeah, I think probably Usopp is going to be one of the stronger leaders just based off that color combination alone. People are going to find a way to make him cracked. I can just tell, I don't think it'll be as much of a problem as Sakazuki was because of how far along we are in the game from that point, right? This is coming out 5 sets later. I think at this point, people will be more used to how this type of deck will play and will probably have more answers to it. So I don't know if he'll be as broken as Sakazuki was in the 05 meta and then the 06 meta when he was like unstoppable as this might be, but still, this is probably going to be very strong. All right, we got Dressrosa and Straw Hat Crew, and then your cost 2 or greater Dressrosa type characters have +1 cost. They've been doing this with a lot of black decks, as we've seen with the starter deck 14 Luffy, the Gear 5 Luffy leader from set 9, right? Those were both Dawn ×1, but this is just a stagnant ability, right? Which means we can be a bit more Dawn efficient. And also, opponent's turn, once per turn, this effect may be activated when one of your Dressrosa type characters are removed from the field by your opponent's effects or are KO'd. So just anytime they leave the field, pretty much, right? Removed by effect and KO'd, right? So I believe that means KO by battle. Like, that's kind of crazy. Unless it specifically means KO'd by effect, but I think it could just be KO by battle. Could be wrong on that. And then if you have 5 or less cards in your hand, draw 1. So we don't get immediate cycle. We don't have access to any kind of free Dawn or cost minus. For example, Sakazuki and Rob Lucci are very strong because they have access to free cost reduction. However, we do not. We just have access to getting our hand size increased and then also +1 cost to our characters. So do I think that Usopp is going to be as strong as Sakazuki was in his prime? Possibly not, just because of how the meta surrounding this card will be at the time. Again, we don't know because we don't know the support. We do have a little bit of support for this archetype already. We have that 7 cost Luffy, the Dressrosa Luffy, that can restand himself if you bottom deck stuff from your trash, right? And people are already kind of going crazy with that card. And we got, of course, Gecko Moria, the 8 cost. And then we have a new Rebecca that was revealed for this leader, right? I'm not saying he's not going to be strong. I think he's going to be strong, right? But I just think that back in set 5 and set 6, Sakazuki was able to a bit easier control the meta, right? But who knows? Who knows how it's going to be? Who knows what other support we're going to get, right? It is just funny to me how if this card does become the meta leader, it's Usopp, and I love that. I love that for him. I love that so much. It's just so funny. Next, we got Caesar Clown. Honestly, a leader that I think might be pretty good, but we'll have to see, of course. 4 life, 5k power, red and blue. Dawn ×2 when attacking. You return one of your Punk Hazard type characters with a cost of 2 or more to the owner's hand, and then KO one of your opponent's characters with 4,000 power less, right? I immediately, when I saw this, I had flashbacks to like Red Purple Law with the fact that we're KOing something, right? Instead of bottom decking, so it's a little less powerful, right? If something has KO immunity, we can't use our leader ability unless we have ways with this new support to get around something like that, right? But immediately when you're seeing 4,000 power, you might not think it's very strong. However, we saw how Red Purple Law was really strong, even though he only bottom decked 3,000 power or less characters. And that's because at this point in the game, there are like 3 or 4 different versions of the Gordon or Raise Max character that just activate main. They're a 1 Don character. So for 1 Don, you play it out, they activate main to put themselves to the bottom of your deck and then give something minus 3,000 power, right? So with just that type of card alone, with this ability, you can KO something with 7,000 power or less, right? You use 1 Don for that and then 2 Don for attacking. You know, you aren't playing out a character for free, right? With something like this, we've seen a lot of, you know, Blue Dofi, Gecko Moria, like stuff like that, that like even the Red Purple Law, I think he was very strong because not only he was getting rid of the character, but he was playing something out. So he was being very aggressive while getting rid of your board. This is just KOing something with the possibility of KOing something pretty big, right? So if you have any top end characters, it would probably be pretty easy for Caesar to remove them, right? But we're not playing something out, and we also have to return one of our own characters to our hand. So I'm wondering if there's going to be there might even be a new Punk Hazard character that comes out that does the same thing as Gordon Raise Max, right? For 2 cost, though, it makes our lead ability a little bit more expensive. You know, you'd have to commit 4 Don to playing something out to reduce a character's power, and then the other 2 Don on leader to swing and then get that character back. But if it's an on-play effect that we just keep bouncing to our hand, it's like as soon as you get one of them in your hand, that's all you need, right? Because he'll just keep coming back to your hand, you know? Interesting. I think with Usopp being black and blue, I think a lot of people were hyped about that. I think a lot of people are already kind of looking at that to kind of crack the meta. But I think personally, Caesar might be pretty strong. Again, for all these leaders, it depends on the support, right? I'm not saying that it's concrete, but I think this ability seems like it's pretty good. But that's also the point, and that I don't think any of these abilities that we've gotten this set seem awful. I think they're all going to be pretty decent. So hopefully this will be a set that we see some play from a lot of these new leaders that I'm hype about. Listen, last week we got Smoker. I don't know why they only chose to use Smoker as the body swapped. I think it is funny, but we got Smoker, red, green, 4 life, 5k power, Punk Hazard, and Navy. Your opponent's turn, your characters with the Navy type or Punk Hazard trait gain 1,000 power. For your opponent's turn, that makes it a little bit easier for us to counter out if they're swinging into something, right? Or if they're trying to remove something, for example, like Caesar's ability, where we're KOing through power, this makes it a little bit trickier for him to do that, which is good. And then main once per turn. If you have a character with 7,000 power or more, set 2 Don as active. So I'm assuming we're going to get some beefy characters for this. I mean, obviously we're red and green, right? So that is interesting. Being able to set 2 Don as active, you know, and that's pretty good. You know, Cavendish, the Supernova 5 cost green character, right? Super strong because he's setting 2 Don as active on play and when swinging, right? This is just baked into our leader ability. So depending on the support, right? Depending on the support for everything, but depending on the support for this could be make it for some pretty Don efficient turns. You know, also just seeing this, I think that we'll probably see a lot of red Punk Hazard characters, or maybe a mix, but since both Caesar and Smoker have the Punk Hazard type and have leader abilities involving Punk Hazard, right? We'll probably see some red Punk Hazard characters. So I'm interested to see that, but also green Navy, you know, we got some Isho support, maybe, who knows? Definitely interesting. Red and green are surprisingly aggressive color combination, right? We see that with Chopper right now. You know, you got the red, so you can have a lot of rush, and then green rest characters. So again, you can just kind of continue to swing at a person's face if they play blockers. You know, maybe you play like a Hoodie Jones or something that rests those blockers, or there's a lot of green events currently that rest characters, right? But who knows how aggressive Smoker can be. And also the fact that our characters are buffed by 1k on our opponent's turn does help, right? I thought that Shanks would be pretty decent when I first saw his leader, when it's all he does is you can give minus 1,000 power to one of your opponent's characters or leader when they swing, right? Because red as an archetype has a lot of rush, right? So a lot of our characters will be sideways. So defending those characters can be pretty costly, right? If a lot of our characters come out and they're swinging immediately, and then our opponent can just swing back into them to kind of burn our hand, this kind of helps us protect from that, right? It makes it a little bit easier to defend our board, and that's pretty good for this color combination. So those are the leaders. I'm very excited to see where they go for the support, but like I said, we got a little bit of support right now. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the 7-cost Rebecca that we saw, because immediately, and for good reason, this card came out and people are comparing it to the 8-drop Gecko Moria because of its ability, right? She is a 7-cost 4K power, which is really low for 7 cost, but you'll see why. Dressrosa, counter plus 1000 / on play. If there's a cost 8 or greater character in play, draw 1 card, so she's immediately replacing herself, and then reveal 2 cost 7 or lower Dressrosa type characters other than Rebecca from your hand. Play one of them as active, and then if the other has a cost of 4 or lower, play it as rested. So a bit tricky with the wording there to explain. That means you reveal 2 cards. Even if you don't have a 4 cost to play with her, you can still reveal 2 cards to play that 7 cost, right? But then if the other one is a 4 or lower, then you can play both of them, right? So these are playing from your hand, which is one thing that the Gecko Moria was very strong, because it's recurring things from your trash. You're kind of getting more value from things that died, right? You're just getting that same value over and over again, right? So it's like, as soon as you got like the 4-cost Rebecca blocker and like a Rob Lucci in your trash, you're kind of set to kind of play out multiple Gecko Morias to keep getting value, right? This is, well, it is drawing us a card, right? So it's not completely draining our hand size. And then we also have Usopp's other ability that one of our characters are removed or KO'd. We get to draw if we have 5 or less. So our hand size might not be as much of an issue, but this is playing out that 7 cost as active and then playing out the 4 cost as rested. So you're not immediately running into that issue with Gecko Moria that, oh, I swung at you last turn, I got to, like, you blocked with your Rebecca blocker, okay, it's gone now, but then your next turn, you play another Gecko Moria and get her back, and she can just keep blocking over and over and over again, making it really hard to go for game against these while they're establishing a 9k body, which is kind of crazy, right? A lot of people hate that card. It just recurs so much value, you know? This, she's immediately a weaker character being 4k power, and she's playing them from hand, and that 4 cost is coming out rested no matter what. So the only way you can get a blocker as active, like the Rebecca blocker, for example, that 4 cost, is if the first card you reveal, because it says 7 or lower, right? So you could choose to play out 2 4 costs to play out a blocker as active, right? Unless we get a new, you know, however, you know, it says Dressrosa, which I believe the Black Sabo blocker is Dressrosa type, right? So you could play out that in addition to a 4 cost, right? But to get the most value, I think that's why people are looking at that 7 cost Dressrosa Luffy, right? That can restand himself, because that's a 7 cost. They can play out with Rebecca, right? We got another 7 cost already, but really, I don't think this is as strong as the 8-drop Gecko Moria, but playing out another 7 cost can be kind of crazy. Next, we got the other 7 cost that was revealed, Kyros. He is a blue 7 cost, 9k power though. So this is, even though I just saying that Rebecca is only 4k power, she can immediately play out a 9k power body if she wants to, right? I think the Luffy might be a little bit stronger just because he can restand himself, and honestly, Kyros' effect is on play, return a cost 5 or lower character to the owner's hand. That's not so crazy. You know, bouncing a 5 cost, yeah, that's a pretty high cost character, right? But that's not as crazy, right? It's not KOing something. It's not bottom decking the 5 cost. They can still get it back. You could use this, right, on your own characters if you want counter to your hand, if you have like a lower cost character that you don't need anymore, or a searcher or something like that, right? Because it doesn't specify your opponent's character. But I think a lot of people are right in that that 7 cost Luffy that can just return cards to the bottom of your deck from your trash and kind of restand itself and swing. Like, you get a lot of value from that, right? I don't think Rebecca is going to be the combo to KO characters, right? If you play out her, I think it's mainly just to kind of fill your board with these higher cost characters, right? And then next turn you can play a Gecko Moria or something and kind of clear board, right? I don't know. It seems kind of strong off the bat, but again, this is the only support that we've kind of really been shown. There's a couple more cards, but really this is kind of what people are looking at, because immediately getting flashbacks to, 8-drop Gecko Moria and Sakazuki and just how much value you can get off of these cards, right? Rebecca, even though she's a weaker character, getting a 7 cost and a 4 cost to the board, right, is kind of crazy, and then because of the fact that you can immediately answer that up with the next turn of playing out like a Gecko Moria, your board will be very scary afterwards. And then you also have your leader ability kicked in, that if they respond to this 7-don turn with their 8-don turn to remove one of these bodies, then you still get to draw a card. So like you're getting value no matter what, which is good. But listen, that's all the leaders and some of the support that I thought was important right now to go over and talk about. I'm interested to see what leaders you're excited about. Again, I'm not trying to say, oh, the definitive winner right now is Usopp or Law or Kid or anything. Right now, those are going to be the meta leaders, right? Because we still have to see so much support. We have to see so much support that's going to really determine what leader is what. I'm just mainly here to talk about their effects, and that I think they're all pretty interesting right now. I think we got a lot of interesting things to look forward to with the different archetypes and the new color combinations that we're going to get. I think the most exciting part about this set is that we're getting all new colors for these archetypes that we've seen for a while, and that's exciting. That's exciting. But yeah, let me know in the comments what leader you're excited about, what archetype you're looking forward to, if there's any leaders from the past that you think might get brought back with some of the new support we might get. Again, we're all kind of just theory crafting right now. Nothing's concrete, but I think it'll be a pretty fun set, especially off the tails of, the big anniversary, set 9. Who knows what the meta will be by then, right? It's too much to speculate, but overall, I think I'm pretty excited for some of these leaders. I think they'll be pretty fun to play. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Leave a like on the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see y'all in our next video. Bye-bye.